Hi guys, welcome back to my small engine repair channel. Today I'm going to be talking about carburetor choke springs, specifically on Tecumseh snowblower carburetors. And the reason I'll be talking about the choke springs today is because I've had a lot of questions from my viewers on YouTube as to how to replace them or fix them. What I've got here are a few carburetors that go on Tecumseh snowblower engines, and they come off an engine exactly like this. This is where your choke knob is on these Tecumseh engines. So if you do have the same engine on your snowblower, just know that I'm dealing with the exact same carburetor that you have on your machine. And here's a close view of this carburetor. This is the throttle mechanism over here. This is the choke assembly here. Now the spring I get questions about all the time is this tiny spring back here. Sometimes it falls off and people can't find it because it's extremely small. I'm just going to remove the knob so it's out of the way here. And here's a look at this spring here from the back. Just take note how it's installed here. So how do I replace this spring? Well, it's super easy. All you have to do is grab one end of the small spring, pull it up, slide it down here, and pull it right out. You can slide down this edge here as well. And as you can see, it's quite thin. It's very easy to lose. And I do keep some in stock here. It's part number 36652 from Tecumseh. It's very rare that I ever replace those springs. Now, people might be wondering, what does that spring do? Does it keep tension on the choke? Does it keep the choke on for you when you turn it on? Well, my simple answer to that is it just keeps the arm here from being loose like this. It does not actually keep the choke on because the choke does have its own spring that goes in its own notches here to keep it in place. There's still resistance to turn the choke on or off without that little spring. And just to show you the difference, here's a carb that still has that small spring. The choke knob lever is a lot tighter. And look at the choke shaft here. Without the spring, it's very loose. So I think that little spring just goes in there to keep this from vibrating all over the place. And to reinstall the spring is just as easy as taking it off. Now to reinstall it, you want to hold it in this position. Slide it underneath the choke shaft. It's going to pop out the other side. You want to slide it up into the groove. And you want to do the same on this side over here. Just push it up. It's going to pop into the groove. And it's installed. And you can see now the choke shaft is a bit tighter. That may depend on the wear and tear on that little spring. The newer it is, obviously the tighter it's going to be. The older it is, it's going to become more loose. However, it's not a big deal. You will not lose the choke shaft if you lose the little spring. Now I do get another question as regards to choke springs on these carburetors, and it's the small one on top here of the carb. It's kind of flexible. It keeps pressure on the choke mechanism here. And this is the spring I'm talking about here. It is a replaceable spring. You can buy it from Tecumseh. And here it is. It's Tecumseh part number 630735. It's called a choke positioning spring. And again, I've replaced very few in my whole lifetime, maybe one or two. So it's not a spring that you will be replacing regularly, by the way. But if you did have to replace it, just grab a pair of pliers. Today I'm using my Van Plier pliers. They have some good vertical serration, so it's perfect to grab into that spring. If you don't have these pliers, any pliers will work. What I usually do is grab onto it and turn clockwise and pull up. Be extremely careful when you do this if you want to reuse the spring. It's basically just pressed in there, I believe, because it's just a small hole. I don't see any threads in there. And this is the spring you're going to be left with. And as you can see, without that spring, the choke is flopping all over the place. So it's quite a critical part to have in your carburetor. So now to install the spring, I am going to remove the choke lever here and the butterfly. Now just pull the choke lever out. I found a good used spring that's in better condition than the one I took off. Again, I'm going to highly recommend that if you do this, to reinstall a brand new spring instead. So get your spring started in there. It's basically just pressed in there. Now I'm just going to push it in with the pliers and just turn counterclockwise or left a bit. And it's nice and solid in there. If you want your choke lever to be tighter, just bend your spring like this toward the back of the carb It's just going to put more pressure on the choke. Now slide back in the choke shaft. It has to be positioned this way. And you can already see it's nice and tight on that spring. And now reinstall the butterfly in this position. It does help to have a bit of blue Loctite on that screw because these Tecumseh engines vibrate like crazy. Now before you tighten up the screw completely here, just feel out the butterfly. Leave it in the closed position. Then use common sense. You want it fairly tight. And that's why it's good to have some Loctite on there as well. And now this choke is nice and solid. And by the way guys, I do have a video that shows how to replace the throttle spring right here. The link is under today's video. So basically in this video today guys, I showed you how to replace this little spring and the one at the bottom over here. And just to make it easier guys, if you plan on doing this, just order new ones. It's a lot easier, especially with this one over here. So as you saw guys, it's not that hard to replace these two little springs. However, be more careful with the top one. It is a little more difficult and may fall out of the carb a few times and fall on the floor or your table. Just have a container ready or something for it to fall into in case that happens, because it probably will. Thanks again for watching guys. Make sure you're subscribed. Also make sure you're following me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and have yourselves a great day.